All right, limited, Jair, Kenny Clark, Romeo Dobbs, Fitzpatrick, Josh Jacobs, McDuffie, Myers, Rasheed Walker, Kobe Wooden, did not practice, were Ballantyne, Cooper, and Jenkins.
Is Romeo still in the protocol?
Yes.
Has he progressed to the point where he may be able to play on
Yes.
Thursday?
We'll see. But he's in the protocol, so I don't know all the nuances of that. They just tell me when he's cleared.
Coach, that calendar flips to December. What does that mean for you as the head coach in the NFL when you see December pop up?
Next game. Not worried about. I didn't even know it was December, to be honest with you. I don't care. I know we play the Detroit Lions on Thursday. Today is Thursday schedule for us, that's where our focus lies. So it really doesn't matter to me.
You guys have played well on the road kind of throughout your tenure, not just the Detroit game last year, but overall. What's been the kind of the key to that success?
I don't know. Players being dialed in and going out there and executing. I couldn't tell you. I just think you got to focus on the game plan and what your responsibilities are, and own it inside and out, so you can go out there and play fast. I think that's half the battle.
Everyone talks about crowd noise. Is that overblown to some extent, or is that like a?
No, it's a real thing. It definitely is a real thing. But you got to handle it, and I think you do get accustomed to. I mean, half your games are on the road, so you have to. You do get accustomed to going on the silent count. Obviously, it's an advantage for the defense, no doubt about it. But ultimately, it's about the execution post-snap.
Do you think that teams, though, in your time in the league have gotten better at dealing with, like, I feel like early in my career, there were times where these guys were just overwhelmed at the metronome. They just could not figure it out. Do you feel like you have more tools, or you're better at the silent count that allows you to at least reduce how big of an impact it has?
That could be the case. I think, like anything, there's an evolution to this game, and I'm sure there's not as many silent counts back then as there are now, and different tricks that you try to use, to try to get that advantage back from an offensive perspective, because that is your one advantage. You know when the ball's going to be snapped, and you got to be able to use that as a weapon. But certainly when it's definitely more difficult when you're on the road and you have to use the silent count.
How's Jair looked the last couple of days?
He's progressing.
I know when you're cleared, I get that, but when you have a guy who's had a re-injury or aggravation, however you want to put it, do you have to reassess that, or if he's cleared, is he cleared? Does that change at all?
Who are you talking about?
With Jair.
Yeah, I mean, and when they tell me he's good to go, and obviously the player has a part in that, just the confidence to go out there and perform. So when it all checks out, and I think as coaches, I mean, certainly we're not going to put somebody out there that we don't feel can go out there and get the job done. So there's an assessment that we make in terms of how they look in practice, whether or not they can go out there and get the job done.
What happened in Chicago, though, factor into whether or not you want to take the risk, for lack of a better term?
Well, I think that's why it's important. The practice is so important. We got to see it in practice before we go down that road.
What have you thought about Stokes and Valentine, what they've been able to give you in his stead the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think they've done a nice job. I think they've gone in there and competed, and that's all you can ask of anybody. Go in there and compete, challenge people, and I think they've done a nice job in that regard.
Coach, what challenges does that Gibbs and Montgomery backfield present to you guys?
Well, they're two very dynamic backs. I think Montgomery, I think I said this yesterday, he's gonna beat you up physically, and the other guy you got to try to corral because he can take it the distance. But I think both those guys are capable backs. They're running against, you could argue, one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in ball, and there's weapons around them, so that opens up the running game. Jared's playing at an MVP level, and so they got a really potent offense that's very explosive, and those backs are two of the main pieces of that offense.
What have you thought of the pass rush coming out of the bye week these last few games?
I feel like it's improving. I think and it's got to continue to improve because it's going to get more challenging the later we get into this thing.
It's good.
Awesome. Have a good one.